We'll get started. First question is Ry Rivard with Politico.
Good afternoon. A couple of questions about the potential for a strike by the ILILA. Sorry, the back.
We can hear you with that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
A question. What kinds of preparations are being made for a strike? What do we expect will be up and running and not up and running if there is a strike? Do we have an idea of how a strike would affect revenue? And finally, are there particular preparations
Tracy's on.
for a
Okay,
scenario
interesting.
where
No one from Bloomberg, Sheree Taylor or Lily Meyer?
So in terms of the preparations that are being made right now with the terminal operators and the ocean carriers, we're working to bring in as many ships as possible, have an orderly shutdown of those ships, and then encouraging the shippers through working with both the truckers and the rail carriers to get as much cargo out as humanly possible, as quickly as possible. At the same time, ocean carriers are beginning to put essentially embargoes on export cargo so that it doesn't come into East and Gulf Coast ports and then wind up sitting there. There will be a shutdown, assuming that there's no intervention, at midnight on Monday the 30th. All activity in the Port of New York and New Jersey with regards to containerized cargo and automobile cargo will cease. Cruise ships will continue to operate. With regards to the revenue, it's a very different scenario depending on how long the strike might last, but it would be deferred revenue. So it's not that the cargo can be diverted to another port. It is cargo that will come to New York and New Jersey once the strike is resolved. And with regards to Taft-Hartley, if the president was to invoke Taft-Hartley beforehand, that's our best, scenario. Next to there being a settlement, once it is invoked, if it is invoked, there would be an orderly arrival of the ships that had been delayed and had been waiting outside. That would be done in concert with the United States Coast Guard and Customs and Border Protection to bring those ships in an orderly way and unload all that cargo that's been waiting.
Thank you, Beth Ann.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Tom?
Just wanted to check. I know we have Tracy Telly on with the New York Times. Tracy, did you have a question?
No, thank you. I do not.
Okay. Next question is Lorianne Laraco with CNBC.
Hi there. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I've got a couple of questions. In terms of the prepping for a strike, are you planning to shut down any exports coming into the port? Want to see in terms of like the congestion control of the containers going out. Also, in terms of, I will have you answer that first question first, and then I'll come back with a follow-up. Sorry.
Hey, Lorianne. So with regards to the exports, so the Port Authority is not shutting down the exports, but individual ocean carriers and terminal operators will be shutting down the exports. So each of those parties is in the process of making those decisions now, largely based on vessel schedules. So all of the activity that's taking place now is designed so that we don't have cargo stuck on the terminal that either cannot get on a ship or cannot get on a rail or a truck.
And so the ramping down, can you walk through a possible timeline so logistics operators can kind of anticipate of when they might hear? Like, when do you anticipate hearing from the ocean carriers and whatnot about the ramping down?
Yeah, so within just the last couple of hours today, a number of ocean carriers have announced their plans in terms of embargoing export cargo coming to the East Coast from the Midwest. So the further afield that the cargo might be coming to us from within the hinterland, the earlier that it would be embargoed.
And finally, do you guys have an estimate of how many vessels are expected to arrive at the Port of New York and New Jersey by October 1st?
A lot. Yeah, I don't have an exact number, Lori. I can certainly get that, but as you know, the ships are operating on regular schedules, and we're doing 20 plus large container vessels a week. So there's still quite a few ships that are out there with about 150,000 containers that we expect to receive before the strike might start on the 30th.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next question is Jim O'Neill with the record. Jim.
Hi there. Thanks very much. Just a few quick questions on the ships themselves. If they're en route and when the strike occurs, what would happen to them? Do they just sit out in New York Harbor until it's over? Would they get rerouted to the West Coast, or what would happen to those ships?
What do you do with the ships that are en route that once the strike hits? I think that's the premise of the question.
Yeah, so the ships that are en route will do one of two things. They'll arrive off of the East and Gulf Coast, and they will anchor in designated anchorage areas, or they will slow down and they will drift and just loiter around until there's an opportunity for them to come in. And then when there is a restart, I think I mentioned, the U.S. Coast Guard will work carefully with all of the ocean carriers and the terminal operators and the Port Authority on the arrival pattern for each of those ships when there is a restart.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go slightly out of order here, Beth, to keep you from having to go back and forth, and we'll go with Mike Angel with the Journal of Commerce. Mike.
Oh, hi. It sounds like I got my questions answered. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Happy to help, Mike.
And last question's Jeff Yappalatter with the Airport Voice. Jeff.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you?
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Great to hear you. And it's amazing at the airport what's been going on. It's unbelievable. Every day there's something else happening. Congratulations on that. This is regarding cargo. Rick, I don't know how many years ago there was a RFP, RFI, or RF something about developing the North Cargo area. We've yet to see anything on that. So if there's some kind of update, that would be great. In relating to that, there also seems something very interesting happening. It's confusing and really of concern to a lot of the cargo companies at JFK. It appears that many leases with companies are either being changed, not renewed, and it's leaving many of the cargo people very confused. Part of it's due to the anticipated demolition of some of the buildings and new buildings. So any comment on that, what's happening, and whether that's any kind of move to bring people to Stewart Airport instead of here?
Jeff, the cargo situation or the future of cargo handling at JFK remains a very high priority. Given the amount of construction activity on the terminal side, the roadway side, on the passenger terminals, it has taken somewhat of a back seat in terms of what the airport can handle. But we do anticipate getting to the cargo agenda on as urgent a basis as we possibly can.
And how about the leasing situation?
Well, leasing, I'm not clear what it is that you're referring to. I guess so. Why don't we get an executive from aviation to talk you through it? But there's not a program here. There's not an organized effort beyond the redevelopment project, which obviously is in full swing.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
That concludes the Q&A. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Beth Ann.